Hi, and welcome to another edition of Real Reviews Rewind, the show where we rewind the clock and look at some older films. This week we're going to trick you a bit. We were looking at some newer films and some older films, and something that is quite permeating the cultural zeitgeist of the moment. The first thing we want to start with, though, today is Deadpool 2. The premise for Deadpool 2 is that the merc with the mouth is out assassinating people, and something happens to him that forever changes his life and his trajectory, and forces him not only to look inward, but to look outward as well. And as a result, he is tasked with saving someone from someone else, which I'm not going to go into very deep.
You're being so cryptic.
And because of that, he forms a team of fantastic people that we're later going to come to know as a force of some kind. That's essentially the plot premise that I'm going to give you, because we're going to talk about it now.
Okay.
So, you saw Deadpool, right?
I saw the first one too, yes.
I have to say I was more happy with the first one than I was this one.
I agree.
The emotional connection between Deadpool and Marina Bacca's character, which she plays his girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
You get so little time with those two as a couple that the thing that humanizes Deadpool as a character most kind of just is gone, because spoiler alert, she dies.
Right.
And then he tries to, quote unquote, end himself.
Right.
Which doesn't go according to plan because, of course, he can rejuvenate himself for those who have not read the comics.
Right. And I think for anybody who doesn't know the movie, that's a key plot factor to note, is that he rejuvenates and, as far as we know, is unable to die.
Yes, as far as we know. So I was mad that aspect that I love so much from Deadpool 1 was vacated from Deadpool 2. And you would think, well, you've got Cable coming in for Deadpool to help out Deadpool, but it's not really that. It's kind of like you're ripping off Terminator a little bit because Cable's actually come to stop somebody.
Right. Well, and what so they love playing with that fourth wall thing because they even drop the Terminator references.
Yeah, they do
in the movie.
They do,
which is a ripoff of the Terminator plot.
Yeah.
So I kind of on one level I really appreciate them doing that because certainly it's a very wink yes we know we're doing this.
Yeah, but my problem is this movie took 45 minutes to get going. 45 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes before anything outwardly hilarious happened. Like, you had little interesting things, like he's going to the X-Mansion for the first time. You've never been inside the X-Mansion. And he's pissed off because the other X-Men aren't there. And you get what I think is one of the most hilarious shots in all film, which is the X-Men are nearby, and he doesn't see them because somebody shuts the door. And I thought that was hilarious and great.
Well, hang on. I'm going to say the first 45 minutes were better than you're making them out to be because I kind of enjoyed the first of all, I really enjoyed the opening credits, the sort of James Bond-ish opening credits. But second of all, I enjoyed like the Dolly Parton scene, where they to the Dolly Parton song 9 to 5. You didn't know. I thought that they do a good job sort of saying, hey, this is where he's at, he's doing his job, he's taking care of business. Here's a little kind of character development leading into the events of the movie.
In my head, I kind of expected that because it's Deadpool. He's going to do that.
Okay.
But how do you make that interesting? And to me, the framing of it all wasn't that interesting. It's stuff that I've seen in every other action movie. In fact, I've seen it in the very action movie that David Leitch directed before this, John Wick. He does those same types of shots. And I saw John Wick no more than like 3 months ago, so that whole aesthetic isn't lost on me at all.
Okay. I've not seen John Wick.
Okay.
Maybe another time.
So that helped a little bit in building your excitement. This film, it has heart, but it takes so long to get there that you're just like, you could have really done that sooner, faster, or introduced more conflict in a different way to make that whole emotional context achievable.
Well, did you feel like that was the point of the movie? Because I don't see them writing this movie to find the emotional context. I thought that was almost
It's an afterthought.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're going to give a guy like Ryan Reynolds, who is a very class actor and amazingly funny, considering the jokes he told, especially the one that I love most, the Basic Instinct joke, where he's
Crossing his legs.
sitting, talking to Cable after, you know, rejuvenating himself. I mean, those are the types of things that I love, because it's just a conversation and he does something randomly funny, versus him trying to be funny irritates me.
Okay.
Tell me what you thought.
I thought this movie tried too hard. I mean, I can't key off that last part. You know, my instinct in walking out of this movie was that they took everything from the first Deadpool that was good and then kind of amped it up.
Yeah.
So you had, you know, more jokes, more violence, more people, more of everything that in the first movie had a little more space to breathe. Mm-hmm. And sort of Deadpool as a character kind of developed. Mm-hmm. This one, I mean, I guess there's some character development in the sense that he kind of goes through some tribulations in his life, but really at the end of the movie, he's the same person.
He really is, and I'm not bothered by that. I'm just bothered by the fact that I didn't get as invested in Deadpool's adventure as Deadpool and the creators would have wanted me to. I was more like, I'm going to wait for the joke. If it's funny, I'll laugh. If it's not, we'll move on and get to the next action set piece.
Yeah, too many jokes. I mean, and I hate to say that because part of the joy of Deadpool is that he's a superhero, but it's, you know, he's throwing off the one-liners. But
Yeah.
I actually felt like there was too much of the voiceover part. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, a little less use of that, a little less use of the jokey stuff. Mm-hmm. Maybe a fewer movie references. I don't know. I mean, I like those too, but there's
so many.
Yeah.
There's so many that you're like listening to try and catch them all, and then another one's already hit you by the time you've caught that one you thought you missed.
It's a little exhausting, this movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, I am kind of tempted to see it again for, you know, to be like, okay, did I miss? You know, I'm sure there's some small things I missed.
Yeah, can I go with you when you do that? Because I really want to see whether I'm feeling as negative on this movie as I thought I was. By the way, did you stay all the way through?
I did.
So you saw all the post-credit scenes?
Yeah. Which are kind of, the post-credit scenes are mostly front-loaded, because I stayed through all the way, and there was nothing at the end.
Okay, so all right. Yeah, I'm just talking about the main main scenes. I also like the character of Peter, as dumb as that sounds. The one person who has really nothing to do in this movie is actually the thing that's the most redeeming part of it.
Well, tell me this, because I've never read the comic books. Was this sort of pulled from some of the books?
I don't even know.
Okay, because Peter, I agree with you. Peter is, you know, a Deadpool kind of forms this team, and Peter shows up, and Peter has no superpowers.
Yeah, but he's great.
Yeah, and I agree, but I thought that was kind of he was a nice character to add in, but at the same time,
you're just like, is he going to die? Is he going to live? Is he going to die? Like, that's the one little X factor you have is like, you don't know with that one person who has no skills at all, could they survive this if they were in it? And that made it funny for me. I also liked Zazie Beetz, who played Domino.
Yes.
Love her character. Wish she had gotten more action scenes and more to do, because in the comics those two are really tightly linked.
Oh, really?
But...
Well, no, I liked her scenes a lot too, and I liked her character. I thought that the action scene she was in was really well done. Sort of this series of events just kind of happen in front of her to position her in a place where comes out fine. Yeah. I love that. For those of you who you may or not have seen it, I think it's in the trailer too. I mean, her superpower is luck, which sets off a great little debate about whether that's a superpower or not.
Yeah,
you know?
And it totally is.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about one thing I thought was really cool was the scenes, and again, we're going to give away a little bit, so spoiler alert.
Post-credit?
No.
Okay.
Just the scenes where he was trying to die.
Yeah.
And he's sort of reaching into this, you know, world where he sees his girlfriend and wants to join her, but he's sort of separated by this barrier. I loved that. I thought that was a really great visualization, and I thought that that of all the parts of the movie actually made me feel some empathy for his character.
Yeah.
Because you're like, wow, that he's so close to he just wants to be with her, and he just can't, and he keeps getting pulled back from that. And I thought that was so cool, and the way that they did it visually, with the water and going through all that was really cool. And
I love the context of, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
You haven't become who you need to be ready for that yet.
Yeah. So that to me was like, by far, those couple of scenes, even though they probably take up 1.5 minutes of screen time, were to me my favorite part of the movie.
And his selfless act at the end was great.
His selfless act was great. I mean, again, yeah, there was...
Didn't make me sad, though.
No?
I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I didn't care as much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
However, the fact that they brought in, spoiler alert, Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, Juggernaut was tougher in this movie than in the comic books, like, I was never a huge comic book fan, but I remember, like, Juggernaut in Spider-Man. So Spider-Man would take on Juggernaut.
Yeah.
And here Juggernaut is, like, takes multiple people to take down.
Yeah, he's what they call OP, overpowered. So, like, that was a great fight. I also, even though they didn't give her much to do, love Negasonic Teenage Warhead and her girlfriend, which I like that they just didn't address it. And that's just a relationship in the movie.
Right.
I like that we're getting closer to that not being an issue. That's something that really shocked and surprised me. Because when that was introduced to Deadpool's like, great, I can make jokes about you now.
Right. Well, but at the same time, I mean, and I'm trying to remember, Colossus, is that?
Yeah.
His relationship with Colossus, they sort of, as much as that was like, oh, it's all cool, you're two women together, not a problem. Here he is making, homosexual jokes with Colossus.
Yeah.
And you're not sure, I mean, is he teasing him? Is he serious? Is he both?
Yeah, you're trying to figure that out, too.
Yeah, and it was, I would say that was much more the sort of locker room kind of style humor that goes against the grain of what you just said, that they've made progress where the other types of relationships aren't an issue.
They take 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. It's a really... That shows just how messy this movie is.
Yeah.
Because it can't really decide on a tone of what it wants to be. Part of it wants to be a raunchy action, humor, comedy sort of thing. And then part of it wants to be an emotional centerpiece about a relationship between a guy who's got acid for a face.
Right.
And is, being a basic hero without knowing he's being a hero.
Right. And I think ultimately it tries to be all of the above.
Yeah, it does.
And that's to its detriment. Whereas the first film
tried to be one thing, and the one thing was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, Deadpool, the first movie, was really one of those catch you by surprise. I'll tell you, talking about the first movie for a second, I was shocked that it was good because there was so much advertising ahead of it that I figured, well, this movie's got to be really bad if they're going to spend this much money to advertise it. But it was shockingly good.
Yeah, it was.
You got to go?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good.
I enjoyed it, but not as much as I would have wanted to, given what I knew it was. Also, before we move on to the next film, post-credit scenes, we got to talk about those.
All right.
So, first post-credit scene. Well, first of all, some setup. Let's just say that Deadpool survives getting shot in the heart while not having powers. How that happens, we won't spoil for you. But Cable's time machine that he used to get back in time to murder the kid.
Yeah. The Terminator plot line of coming back in time to take care of somebody before they're fully grown.
Yeah. His time machine gets fixed. Deadpool decides, it'd be a great idea to steal this. Because, of course, like we mentioned, his girlfriend died. So he goes back in time. First thing he does is he saves her.
Of course.
Which I was like, great. So she's not gone for the third movie if there is one. The second thing he does is the thing I have the most hilarity with. He I
saw it. I just don't remember what the second one was.
Second thing he does is he goes back in time to X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
And
The Wolverine
he
shot.
goes to the final fight of him as X-Men Origins X-Men Origins Wolverine Deadpool, and he just shoots that version in the head, and then basically quadruple to pentuple double taps him.
Yeah.
Which I think is great.
Yeah.
And then the last thing he does, and I think this is hilarious, and I want to know your thoughts, is he goes to when Ryan Reynolds received the script for Green Lantern,
Yeah.
and just shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
And you notice that Ryan Reynolds was, in addition, of course, being in Deadpool, he's one of the co-writers. So, you know, I mean, that was,
Yeah.
I'm sure he came up with that one.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did, I don't know.
I just thought that was great. I was like, oh, yeah, that would make sense, because you realize that no matter what, Ryan Reynolds would probably taken it if the money was good.
Right.
So
I read
yeah.
there was another one that was cut after some test screenings.
I don't know what it was, though.
He killed a baby Hitler.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I look for the director's cut later. I don't know. Yeah.
Let's hope that's there.
Yeah.
So we've got to move on to go to our second film, which is a retro film, Brick, directed by Rian Johnson, the same guy who directed Star Wars: The Last Jedi. You can tell the viewers the plot of this one.
Oh, okay. So, Brick, I had to look this up, but I was shocked. It only came out in 2005.
Yeah.
I would describe it as a classic film noir set in American high school around 2005. And the movie starts with a wonderful sequence where the main character, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, finds his ex-girlfriend dead. And from that point forward, he's sort of investigating the story of how that came to be and pursuing the leads, you know, to find out what's going on, leading to a sort of a series of events and a culmination. But really, ultimately, it's pure film noir. I mean, he is straight up, Philip Marlowe or any detective kind of plot that you would find. He's got all kinds of dames who come in and out of the movie. But what I really love about this movie, and my favorite scene by far, is, these characters are interacting with each other very much like as if they were from, again, some detective story, yet they're all high school students. And I think my favorite part of the movie is when they're downstairs in the sort of, the lair of the bad guy, and then he says, let's take this upstairs. And they go upstairs, and there's his mom, and she serves them milk and cookies at the table,
Do you want some orange juice? Yeah. Yes, okay, yeah.
So I just really, I love that the two levels of this movie, and I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt was fabulous. I mean, I'm really coming around on him. I mean, I never was against him, but he's put together such a string of interesting performances that I feel like he's, one of these days, you're going to have this amazing body of work from his films, because he started so young.
I mean, I can name all of them off the top of my head. There's Brick, there's Mysterious Skin, there is The Lookout, there is the one he directed.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it on the top of my head.
That one
either.
I don't remember, but
there's Jingle All the Way, or whatever the one with Seth Rogen was.
Oh, there's 50-50.
Yeah, 50-50. Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So he's got this amazing body of work where and 500 Days of Summer, of course. So I mean, there are many layers to JGL as an actor that I'm fully appreciative of. This was the first film that I saw him in.
Okay.
And I have a love for this film, not just for the style and the conversations people have, but for his lack of trust of basically everybody.
Right.
He's ready for somebody to turn instantly.
Right.
But you know what I really love is that fight between the big buff guy and him in the school parking lot.
Yeah.
The way that shot, even though it's not a fully choreographed fight, amazing.
Yeah. Let's stop and talk about how well this movie is made. So this was the first movie for the director. And, to me, if you want to show somebody that you don't need a huge budget to make a fabulous movie, you should watch Brick. Because this movie is so well crafted, so well put together, and yet nothing is really like, I mean, it literally could have been made by a bunch of kids after school over, the course of a couple months. It's just that so much care has been put into selecting the shots and where the camera is going to go and how the choreography is going to be.
And this is before cell phones really getting big. This is what happens.
All the scenes on the payphone. It's crazy.
This is what happens when you go technique and knowledge over having, cell phones do all your dirty work.
Right.
Yes, you can probably get interesting shots with those cell phones, but the way that camera is scaled back during phone conversations at the payphone, the way you have different angles of what people are doing through windows, all sorts of shots that are just present that you just don't see anymore.
Right.
Because everybody wants to make it right here in the center, switch to cut to a person's face, right here in the center. There's nothing interesting going on.
Right.
You end up asking yourself while watching this movie, why are they showing this to us from that angle?
Yeah,
what are we missing, or what are we about to see that we weren't going to see from the traditional way films are shot?
Yeah, so much care has been put into every one of those shots that, I think it really, I'm looking forward to watching it again sometime just to appreciate some of those things. Because, the first time you watch a movie, you're into the plot, you're into the action, where's this going, what are these characters doing? But when you can go back and watch it again and really luxuriate on how well it's made, this movie just off the charts in terms of the quality of that. And then I thought the acting, generally, you've heard me complain about sort of, young actors. And I thought the performances were generally really good.
And I especially got a crush when I watched this film for the first time, or the first few times I watched it, on Nora Zehetner, who...
Is she the dark-haired femme fatale? Okay,
yeah. I loved her character and the mystery of it, and how she wasn't really trying to seduce Brendan as much as get him to think about the way that she saw the world.
Right. No, I thought she was great. Lucas Haas was great.
Yeah.
As the Pin. And then the blonde tough guy. Actually, I thought he was really good when, in the couple of scenes where he sort of, interacts with people, not just as this tough guy.
And it's interesting because the Pin basically has a disability. They don't really address it fully.
Right. It's just kind of there.
It's just kind of there. They don't give an explanation. They don't try to explain it. It's just, this is the way things are. And I love that because you're letting a person be something rather than saying, well, this is what they have.
Right.
Well,
that's a good point. You see, now that's a kind of perspective that you bring to the films that would have just washed right over me.
Well, I mean... It's something that took multiple viewings before I ever actually asked myself that question, does he have a disability? And the answer I came up with is, yes, but it doesn't matter. And I think that's what made it so, intriguing and exciting to watch that film. I especially like the ending. Do you want to spoil that for our viewers?
I don't know. I don't think we need to spoil it. I like the ending too. How about that?
Yeah.
I think that the ending does a decent job of wrapping up the plot, yet it's not all tied up in a bow.
True. I would have... Is it weird that I would have loved to see a sequel to Brick?
Probably.
And
it would be like Deadpool 2, where it's like all the parts pumped up to higher.
I mean, I would have loved to see what would happen on a college setting. Like, what does this guy go and study? If something similar or marketably different happens, that's more of a personal tragedy, because you never see his family really.
Right.
You're never exposed to that.
That's right. You see his bedroom, but you don't see anything besides that. Which, again, I kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly. So what is that guy like, once high school is over?
Yeah. I will say this. I'm glad they didn't make a sequel because there's so many movies that are just... They're great, and I'll put Deadpool in this category.
Okay.
It's good on its own. Yeah. You don't need to mess with it. You don't need to do any more. Just leave it out there where we can appreciate it, and you're done.
Well, there's another film in the filmography that I think we'll be exploring at a later date. That's also directed by Rian Johnson, and that would probably be Looper.
I saw Looper
because there's definite controversy in that film.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to know what you thought about that. but we both genuinely love Looper and recommend it to you all
Brick.
to see. Oh, I'm sorry.
Looper's a discussion for another day.
Brick, I'm sorry. I got on a Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson filmography tangent. We both love Brick, and we hope you guys will go out and find it on Amazon and watch it and tell us what you think. So the last thing we wanted to discuss today isn't really a movie or a short film, but it's art.
Yeah, and I would say you've always given us the option on the show to talk about other things in the zeitgeist, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say this here. For those of you who are watching this on UPTV, awesome. If you're watching this on YouTube, pause here and go watch the video, This Is America, by Childish Gambino, and we'll wait for you to come back.
Yes.
Okay, you're back.
So, This Is America is probably, other than Michael Jackson's short film works, which I think are iconic,
Right.
iconic in its own right.
Right.
For the sense of, it has an entire discussion and commentary on the way America currently is, and also pointing out pieces of the history that are not pleasant in a way that doesn't insult everyone, but it does kind of punch you in the face with, this is the world you're living in. Look at what it's turned into.
Right.
Look at what I'm able to do while you're not thinking about anything that's going on around me.
I think punches you in the face is a great way to describe this piece, this art. I watched this the night after Saturday Night Live, which I found out randomly was sort of the night it was released, the video. It just blew me away. I had to watch it 5 times in a row.
Five in a row, huh?
Just to absorb it. I mean, there's so much packed into it, and it just, you know, it's such an amazing job of he walks this fine line of it's commentary and yet it's participatory and yet it pulls you in and yet you think about it. You know, it works on so many levels, and the song is great.
I mean, for me, the immediate the shocks that everybody talks about, like, oh, that happened, oh, that happened.
Yeah, well, they've already seen it. They went off.
They've
and watched
already
the
seen
video.
it at this point.
They got
so
inspired.
when the
Yeah.
2 shootings occur,
Yeah.
I'm just like, that freaked me out a little bit the first time I saw it, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for whatever else is going on behind me.
Well, I think the most important part about the shootings is his reaction to the shootings.
Yeah.
Which is just, you know, here's the gun.
Here's the gun.
Right.
We'll protect
I'm gonna
you
walk
with a veiled red ribbon, and I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. To me, you know, that the shootings, while they're important to the message of the piece.
It's not as important as everything else that happens in the video.
Yeah, right. And I think that those are probably getting more attention, you know, in some ways than the right. Now, I'm going to talk about the ending for a second.
Okay.
What's your interpretation of the ending?
Well, let's see.
So I'm talking about the kind of black and white sort of video of him running.
He's running from the police. He's running.
Well, that's not specifically clear. Go on. I'm sorry. I shouldn't interrupt.
Oh, you know what? I just had a new thought about this.
Yeah.
He's running away from his problems, which is what America tends to do. Oh.
He's just manically running, and it's,
that
you know,
makes
he's
sense.
being chased, but we don't know by what or who, or I mean, they're people.
What
but we
is
don't-
your interpretation of that? Because I just think that might be the thing.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
'Cause that's what America does, is run away from its problems. It acts like it didn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was. I mean, certainly for the rest of the piece, there's sort of no.
But he was fearful.
Yeah, at the end, yeah, he is, because during the piece, he's so blasé about these things, and there's nobody does anything to him. You know, even right after the second shooting, there's this cop car there, and he just kind of walks away, and he just, you know, hands the gun to somebody and walks right through by the cop car. So it's almost like nobody is holding him to account for what he's doing, and then at the end, it is like he's being held to account, but I don't know by who or what. And
Or maybe it's more of an interpretation of we need to hold ourselves accountable. Because the people who are chasing after us are never going to catch up because we're just going to keep blowing in the same cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, there are multiple ways to go after that.
So basically, bottom line is, I think this is a really important piece. I would hold it up there in terms of music videos among sort of the most you know, I mean, I think you can put Thriller out there as a good example of another sort of long form one.
Yeah, but that the social commentary isn't there, though.
That's right. That's right.
So, I mean, you have to look at videos similar to that where they're actually trying to say something.
Right.
Like, for example, even though I hate to mention this, Christina Aguilera's Beautiful
Yes.
from the early 2000s
Absolutely.
features so much of that commentary, and it's more blunt and more in your face, but its message hits home.
Yes. So, with that being said, we strongly recommend the video.
We strongly recommend the video. We strongly recommend Brick, and we're mixed on Deadpool, but if you're interested in that kind of humor and that kind of action, then please do go see it. We will see you in 2 weeks when we will be looking at what, Sanford?
Well, I think we're going to shoot for a double feature at the Art Theater, and we'll discuss those films then.
Yes. All right. We will talk to you guys soon. We'll see you at the movies. Bye, guys.